going to be sorting out a microcontroller for you guys that I think most of you will be interested in. It's basically a digital dial, and I made here an example for you guys. We've got our RPS for our engines, our knots, and our altitude. This is only one of the types of microcontroller that I've sorted out, as I did make another one that's more like a fuel dial, whereas it's like half of this, and the dial starts here and goes down. So yeah, I hope you guys are looking forward to it, because I sure am. And I'll see you in the workbench. Alright, and here in the workbench we begin with I guess just basic block palette. We get battery. No, we could do it with one of these. Let's chuck that on the back here. I'll grab a throttle lever. Put that right. It's here. And then I'll grab a constant on signal number, and I'll grab a 1x1 screen. Very simple. Okay, and then we'll also grab, actually that should be about it, except for a microcontroller, which I'm beginning. Alright, so now that we've moved that out of the way and we've got a wee bit of space, I'm going to go into our microcontroller editor. We're going to call this dial, and meter demo. Right. So we got logic, we've got our on off, but we actually want that to be a number, and that's going to be our input, so we got value, and then a video, that's going to be an output screen. We move these over there, shorten it down a wee bit, and do a quick little screen on here. Alright, that should be good enough. So grab our number, and we'll get ourselves a composite right number. So we want this to be about 2, I believe, and put that there, and then a lower, put that there, put that to there, and then we also want a property number, and this is going to be the max value, so that we can figure out how much we need to kind of divide it by for it to be accurate. And then we want another composite right, and that's going to be our on off, because we do want the ability to change whether or not whether or not this is a meter or a dial. So we go meter / dial, on label will be meter, and off label will be dial. So we'll chuck that into there, and then next thing we've got to do, of course, get rid of all this, and I'll just whip up basically put back what I just deleted, and say that V, or value, equals input dot get number, and then we've got our max equals that input dot get number 2, and then because the third one is an on-off input, we go for switch equals, that name doesn't matter, but input dot get bool, which is another word for a boolean, which can be a 1 or a 0, and it serves as an on-off input. Then we go end, and then we go for function on draw. Alright, and before we do the rest of that, I'm gonna just save this. So I'm gonna save it as dials, and exit out of here, search up dial, and we should find this. And then we grab the number input from here, look up the electric, and grab the video, and also we'll hook up our constant on signal to display. So then we just go and pop into here again, and as you can see there, we can swap up between dial and meter, and our max value is currently 1, just as this is. So then we go into our little script, go into our on draw, and we want to set the height. We're not going to set a variable height this time. We're going to set it as a set number, because we don't want this to adjust to the screen, or not this one anyway. We can just set this to, if you guys wanted to, and we could set this to our screen.getWidth. But for mine, or screen.getHeight I mean, but for mine I'm going to make this so that as a set height and width, so that I can make this, like, I can duplicate this onto a bunch of different dials on one screen, just as I showed you in the start of the video. So then we're going to make this a 32, which is a 1x1 screen width or height, and then we're going to go, just to make this easier, so we don't just have to draw, like, write in height divided by 2 every time, we can go height 2 equals 16. Just doing the math ourselves, which is height divided by 2, so that the computer doesn't have to do it every time you're spawning it in. H equals 0, and which is horizontal, by the way, and vertical equals 0. I'll explain these two, I'll explain these two once I get into the actual coding of it, but for now I'm going to just show you the basics. Okay, so we go if I4, okay, if switch, then, so this is getting our bool, and if it is on, then we want to make ourselves a meter. So if switch, then we're just going to make this inline, because I don't want this to overwrap. Screen dot set color 255 0 0. So that just makes it red, and this is my preference. You can of course change these colors if you like. So then you go screen dot draw circle, and we're not going to fill this. We're going to go H, which is our horizontal, so that's our X, and that's currently 0. And then we go plus H2, which is our 16, or height divided by 2. And then we go B, vertical, which is currently 0, plus our H2, which is height divided by 2 again. And then height divided by 2 minus 1. So that makes that 16 on the X, which is half, so it centers the circle, and then it makes the circle 1 pixel in from the edge of the screen. So it doesn't kind of just sit like over the edge of the screen and screw everything up. And then we're going to set the color, so screen dot set color, and we're going to set it to, let's say, white. Just this here is the needle, which will be rotating around the circle, so we want it to kind of be a contrasting color to red. So screen dot draw line, and we're going to say horizontal plus height divided by 2, which is going to make it so that this is halfway in the screen, and then vertical plus height divided by 2, so middle of the screen, starting in the middle of the screen. Then we want the other point to be h plus h2, which is height divided by 2, and then we go plus, so we're going to add something else here. This is where it gets a little bit complicated. So we do 2 brackets, height divided by 2, minus 1 to make 15, and then close that bracket, and it times it by math dot cosine, and then we're going to add 3 brackets. Yeah, this is starting to get to it. We're going to go negative value divided by max. So this here, the reason that it's a negative value is because this is a meter, so we want it to start at the top and go down to the bottom as it empties, rather than kind of like starting at the bottom. It is a little bit confusing. So then we go negative 1.5, so minus 1.5. Explaining this, well, actually it's not very hard to explain. The 1.5 takes the needle, rather than starting on the right side of the screen, the end of it being the right side of the screen, it starts it at the top of the screen, so that it kind of, you know, it rotates down. Right. And then we close that bracket, and we times it by 3.175. No, that's 2. 3.175. That is half of 6.35. At least I believe it is. Yeah, it is. Half 6.35, which makes it so that it's a perfect circle, rather than being like a quarter of the circle or something. Or a sixth of the circle in this case. Alright, so then we close that bracket and that bracket. So that should be good. Yep. Actually, I think we can remove one of these brackets. No, we can't, because we got to plus it. Okay. So then we get our or like a horizontal. So that's our horizontal. So that'll sort out the horizontal axis of our line. Now we've got to sort out the vertical axis of our line, or the height of the screen. So then we go vertical plus height divided by 2 plus bracket bracket height 2 minus 1. So starting off the same as we did last time, but this time instead of math.cosine, we want to times it by math.sine, and then 3 brackets, and we got negative value. So this should be basically the same. And the reason that I'm going value divided by max is because we want it to be a percentage of the maximum, rather than being like, let's say, if we were to have the max as 0, then it would just spin rapid fire around the screen, and I'll show you what I mean later. But so we're just going minus 1.5, and this one's almost the exact same as the last one, and we go times 3.175, 3 brackets. Right, and that should be it. So the next line we want to do is screen dot set color 000, which is black, 0 0. And the reason we're doing this, as well as drawing this rectangle, right, so the reason that we're doing this is that we're going to end up having to cut off a quarter of this circle down the bottom corner so that we can read out our display, like the numbers. But in this case, this is the meter, so we're going to have to cut off half of the circle. Okay. So our rectangle, we want it to be horizontal, vertical, so these are both 0, and then we're going to go height divided by 2, which is starting in like the center of the screen, and well, actually no, it's not starting in the center of the screen. This here is like the width and height of it, so it's half, it covers up half the screen, and then the last one is going to be height, which is going to, you know, cover up the whole top to bottom of the screen, whereas it's going to cover up half of the width of the screen. All right. Next thing we want to do is want to change the color. Dot set color. This time I'm going to set it to green. This is once again your preference, but I like the idea of having a green kind of name to make it stand out, or a green number to make it stand out more. And then we're going to go screen dot draw text h plus 3, height plus 3, or horizontal plus 3, I mean, b plus 3, vertical plus 3. So it starts at the top corner of the screen. And then we're going, no, actually, I've done that wrong. B plus, not 3, but bracket 0.5625. And then times h. So that should give us like about halfway down, but a little bit more than that. It's confusing to me as well, but it makes sense at the same time. Okay, so close that bracket. There we have. And then we're going to say T4. So what's that going to do? That's not going to be T4. I've done this before, and what we're going to put here is the label, what we want to call it. But the issue is, if I put in a label here, I'm going to have to go into the Lua script every time I want to change this over. So that's where our property comes in. Inside of here, we've got, we can call a bunch of things, right? So we've got our output, inputs, and then we've got properties. So if we go property get text, I'm just going to copy and paste this here. So we're going to say text equals property.getText, and we'll have to put in a label here. Alright, not finished that yet. But all we've got to do this is grab a property text, dump it over here, and we're going to call this dial/meter value name. And we're going to copy this. And so this here is what we can enter for our name. But we can't just enter anything, because if we enter something that's too long, it's going to cover up too much of the screen. So we want about a 3-letter name. That's pretty much what you can do. 2 or 3 letters, or 1 letter if you really like. Just something that'll kind of represent it. At the moment I'm just going to use val, because that kind of represents what I'm using. So val, and then we want to grab ourselves a speech mark, paste that in, and speech mark. Alright, so now we're going to add, and we're going to draw up our text here. So that basically tells it to, at that location, we're going to draw text, which is this. That's actually something that you can use anytime for a text rather than having it inbuilt into the Lua. You can actually kind of shorten it and make it so that you have text inside of a property. Now, the last thing we want to do is close this off with an end. And also do the one thing that I've missed, which is completely missed an entire thing here. So after this, I was meant to go screen dot draw text and say h horizontal +3, vertical +3, so it's going to be at the top corner of the screen, and then say math.floor, which if you don't understand means to basically floor a value. Rather than having a value like 0.5, it would have 1 or 0. So it'll be in between two numbers. So rather than having a bunch of decimal places on the end of something, I can just make it one set solid number, making it a lot easier for me. And we're going to enter our value here. So that there is our value, and then we're going to make this screen.set color. So we have our nice vibrant green value, and then we've got our, we're going to actually make this white. So 255, 255, 255, and so this here is going to be white. So we've got white text, green value, we've got a white needle, and we've got a red circle. Alright, and it looks like I've done something wrong. Line 20. Just right there, isn't it? Okay, now let's see. Alright. Close the function and end right here. And I also need to add another end because otherwise our onDraw function is not ending. Alright. Good thing I checked that. So we'll just check that in. And we'll make our max value 1. And we'll make it a meter because we don't have the dial set up yet. Okay, so we'll just head on over here. As you can see, got our meter. As we move it, it goes up to 1. How's that? Alright, and I'll show you something else. So rather than this being a max of 1, set it to 100. 1 to 100. Move it over here, and look at this. There we go. Once again, it's perfectly moving rather than having a spastic, like as I'll show you. Speaking of having spastic, we'll put this as 1. We'll show you what happens if you don't set the value right as our max. There we go. All the way to 100. As you can see, the spinning line is actually going all the way around the screen 100 times before it reaches 100. And if it's going all the way around the screen, half the time it's actually not even on the screen. Alright, so now we're going to go into our Lua. And so what happens if we don't choose to switch it over to the meter? What if we choose to make it a dial? Then we go else. Simple text that allows us to add something if it's not on switch. So for this, I'm just going to copy this straight over to here, because I don't want to redo all of this. So got that, that stays the same. That also stays the same. That there changes. Okay, so h2 minus 1, h plus h2, b plus h2, h plus h2 plus h2 minus 1. That goes, and we're going to go a positive value this time. and rather than negative 1.5 we're going to add 2, and then we're going to go times, rather than 3.175, 4.7325, and I'm going to copy this whole piece here, all of that, and we're going to copy it and paste it over to here. I believe should be fine. Yep. Okay. So we got met.sign value 4 minus value minus divided by max plus 2 minus 4 point that, and last thing, well, not really the last thing we need to do, but we're going to go v, rather than having the rectangle start at the top, we're going to have it start at the halfway point down, and then rather than having it fill up the whole thing on the whole height of the screen, we're going to have it at h2. And then these, that means that these almost also need to be changed. So rather than having it at the top, I'm going to make this one basically actually the same as this. So we're going to copy and paste this. Alright, so that is the same there. And then this one, however, is going to be slightly different. Rather than having 0.56, it's going to be 0.78125. There we go. That there should conclude all the coding that you need to do. And so basically what I've just done is I've moved the text and the number around a wee bit, and I've made the line go 3/4 of the way around the dial and start at the left position, and shorten that little box that covered up the circle. There we go. We got 0 all the way up to 100, and I'm going to change that back to 100 because that makes more sense. There we go. So there you have both a meter and a dial that you can use and swap around just like this. And you can also change this just to show you that it works. I'm going to change that to tag, and there we go, we got tag rather than value. So there you have it. That there is all you need to do to make yourself a perfectly working dial. Now, something else that I have made that actually is quite cool, I think, is the reason that I added those H and V tags. So you can see here I have a lot more in this than I have in that, and I can have up to 6 dials, and I can alternate them between meters and dials, change the maximum values around, change all the tags. Alright, so you can see there is dial, meter, dial, meter, dial, meter, and they all move just like that. So that's the reason that I added the H and V tag, and this took up 2 entire Lua script blocks to do. So the H and V tags, I changed them each time. This is the second one, so it started at the second row. So that's the second row, and second dial along, takes it, moves it over another dial. Third dial moves it over 2 dials and second row. So that's how you can actually make yourself something like this, or you could just go to my workshop, which I'll link down in the description, and this entire microcontroller here is in my workshop as it is right now. So go back to my backups because I've lost this. So this here, simple, interesting, and not very hard to build. Thanks guys for watching. If you liked my video, I hope you can like and subscribe. Makes it, grows my channel a little bit, helps other people see this content, helps other people work their way through Stormworks. Yeah, thanks for watching. See you guys next video. Bye.